Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
And I'm Randy.
This is episode 84 of our show, and the date is April 19th, 2022.
Show. Did you notice?
Yes. We had that last time, and I didn't say it.
Well, you didn't want the old podcast. We felt a little limited, so I brought the show.
No limits. This is a no limits show.
You got some sweet dudes in the house. Darth, Shadow,
Let's
what's up?
see
Patrick.
Yeah. Welcome everyone who's here, and come on in to the folks who aren't here and can't hear me. So why did I even say that? Yes, send out the join us vibes.
One of us. Yeah, sweet.
So, what is new?
What is new is essentially 6 days of school, and Randy's on break. But I am teaching the spring.
Of course you are.
Because I like money. But I'll have a week off. And after that, when the spring starts, the end of that week is Cabin Con. So I'll get my students acclimated to everything and then leave them in the lurch.
Well, they are adults. They should be able to handle it.
They'll be fine. What's Calc 2 amongst friends? So, but yeah. So we didn't get to play this past weekend because of Easter, but I did go over to Patrick's and we hung out, and Joseph couldn't make it, but they started a game called Dark Tower. That's a remake. Sound like they had a good time. I didn't stay for that whole game. They can only have 4 players, so I let everybody else play. Kind of watched them. It's pretty cool looking. I like it. Like the looks of the board game.
Yes.
What did you do besides Easter stuff that weekend? Anything exciting early this week?
Well, we got a new vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
We got a 2012 Ford Escape. The Impala. One of the springs gave out on the coil, the strut coil, whatever it's called. There's a coil on the back tires. There's a coil and a shock absorber.
Yeah.
And the coil collapsed.
Oh.
And rubbed out just the inner edge of the tire, but just enough to where it started smoking and we couldn't drive it anymore. We had to put on the donut, and we drove it like that for several days. We were going to get it fixed, and then decided it was going to just be too much. There was already several minor things wrong with it. This is pretty much just the straw that broke the camel's back. And we went and got a car with a payment.
Boo.
Hate that, but hey, it is what it is.
Is that coil connected to a strut, you said?
Yeah, it's I can't remember what. There's probably a particular name for the coil, the spring, right. that there's a metal bar that holds it up, and the little there's not a bushing where it's attached.
Mm-hmm.
It popped loose, and the bar didn't just flop off. It has 2 attachment points. The lower attachment point came loose, and then that made the spring come down on the tire.
You've had a variety. I don't know. Joseph has had a variety of used cars through his life. I'm not sure you've ever bought a new car. You may have once.
I've never bought a new car.
Never bought a new car, but struts have been a thing, haven't they? For you, are you the one that's had a lot of issues with struts over there? No, okay. I was thinking of somebody else. So,
no.
Anything gaming wise? No,
nothing new on that front.
Okay, all right.
I am noting some ideas of mine for lore and rules to be we can talk about later on for our system that we've kind of shelved at the moment.
I wouldn't call it shelved. I'm still thinking and writing things down. We just need to get together. Patrick says 7:34. Joe, our van died so that yours might live.
That's funny.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, Patrick. Sacrifice amongst friends. You got to like that. Oh, so any call-ins or emails for ourselves?
Nope. None of that.
What are we doing wrong?
Nothing. We have folks here talking to us.
I know that is cool. Hey, Martinson, what's up, man?
So, Patrick, your van you just recently had, where you had two vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. There was an accident. That's right.
Trashitude, man.
Yeah. Well, you get some money from the insurance company. So.
Yeah. No matter how slow it might take,
I mean, I had a vehicle, really crappy car. I was driving to my first assignment when I was for the post office in Davison. So it was a pretty decent, almost an hour to get there from here. And I hit a deer on the way there, and the airbags deployed, so that trashed the vehicle. That's my wife was like, why is it if the airbags deploy, your car is totaled? So I'm not exactly sure. It's probably an insurance scam of some sort, because you can get the, you should be able to just stick new ones in there, but no.
Oh, Darth has sent us a lovely message. Read Darth is at 736.
Darth says, Darth Thick, we don't bother to call in or email. We just tell you you're wrong during the show. Yeah, that's what you should do.
Well, that's perfect, man.
Yeah,
nothing like a just-in-time criticism. I like that.
Sure.
Thanks, Darth. Oh. Okay. Insurance companies.
The most you're going to get is 3. I think we got more like 5. That was a few years ago.
Yeah, I try to. I don't know. I tend to.
Well, we've had the Impala for 10 years.
Yep.
And probably 10, maybe a little bit more. And that's when that car died out. And I'm pretty sure we got like $5,000. That's why we could get the Impala.
That's cool. We got our 2006 RAV4 in 2006, and it's still going. So, not bad.
Well, that's the Impala that was an 06.
That's pretty sweet. Must have been a good year. Good year for cars.
Well, it almost made 20.
Hey, can't beat that with a stick.
It was starting to get the upper the northeast of the country.
Yeah,
there is a rot that most cars get along the bottom edge of where the doors, that little bit of metal that's beneath where the door, your door in the very bottom, that you see it on a lot of cars. They all rot out.
I don't think we're in the Northeast. I think we're considered the north part of the Midwest, though.
Oh, well, close enough.
Close enough.
And there's, we have snow and road salt, all that stuff. And this vehicle has a pretty thick rubber trim on the bottom. Yeah. So that should protect that part of the car from that rot. Upper Midwest is what Mortensen called. It's not just rust.
Yes.
Because other places that you don't have to worry about having the snow and the road salt, they don't have the same problem we do. Hey, Baron.
Baron in the house. Well, I guess I'm sure this car talk is very riveting to everyone. I know it's not to me.
So we have a new car.
Good. I'm happy.
Well, SUV.
Duncan Bradley, what's up?
Duncan.
All right. So,
Duncan Bradley of the
Bradleys.
Of the Bradleys.
Yeah.
Trying to make a stupid movie reference.
Yes.
Larry.
All right. We got a crowd now. Let's get to it, baby.
Yes. We're almost double digits here. All right. Today's episode is about stats, and we have a video that we're going to reference here about an interesting ability score generation method for D&D. Do we want to? It's not a very long video, but do we just want to let people know the link and then we talk about it, or do you want to?
Yeah, why don't we do that? It's by Captain. If you guys know Captain Courageous on YouTube's, I think it's CaptCourajus. A pretty good little site. He's kind of an OSR everything kind of guy. Yeah, Baron's reminded us to do the like and sub stuff.
Sure.
With
That's my job, and he took it. He took it.
He's
subscribe.
Thanks for the hip. We appreciate it.
Yes.
But anyway, this guy had a very interesting. I don't think it's new because Matt is it Matt Kraft or Crafty, who shows up a lot on Friday night.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Crafty Matt.
he mentioned it, and I guess it's maybe he saw the video, maybe he knows it. Anyway, the way this guy does this, he takes 24 6-sided dice, and this is for mostly OSR games, and he rolls them all
at the same time.
Yep. Same time, and you drop. I'm trying to remember. Did he drop the lowest 3 and the highest 3, or the lowest 4 and the highest 2?
Lowest 4, highest 2.
Yeah, just
he rolls them all. He uses a cup, a dice rolling cup and a dice rolling tray, so they don't, go everywhere.
Yeah, I would say watch the video. It's pretty cool. But then, so you lose 6 dice from the 24. That leaves you 18, and so you do 3 each for each stat. 6 stats. 3 times 6 is 18, and you put them in order. So you put start with all the highest. So you might go 6, 6, 5, and then 5, 5, 4, and you work all the way down to the lowest. And it seems like you get a pretty interesting character that I think you'd be hard pressed to say you get an unplayable character, though you still might get a character with a single digit stat.
Yeah, because he did in the example he had. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was interesting. I wasn't sure that was really part of the method or what, where you grouped all the dice in 3s, and he went from the lowest up.
Yes.
But highest down is still.
Yeah, either way.
If you get 3 6s, those 3 6s go together. If you get 3 6s and a 5, or 2 6s and a 5 as your 3 highest, those go together.
Yep.
And you group them all highest, lowest by 3. And yeah.
I probably should have done the math on it, but I'm pretty sure it's definitely skews higher. I'd be willing to bet it skews higher on stats than just 3d6 down the line, or maybe even more than 46 drop the lowest. But
46 drop the lowest was method 1.
Yes, was it? Not method, originally. Well, it was
AD&D.
AD&D, yes, it was method 1. And Gygax did kind of prefer slightly higher stats. He made a comment somewhere in 1E that and this is in the articles by Grognardi we'll talk about in a minute, where he said you should, if you play a character, they should have at least 2 15s or higher. That's interesting, but we'll get to that. So I think this method of rolling is interesting and fun. I like the fun aspect of it. I would absolutely do it at my table. If players wanted to do it, that'd be completely fine. That could be fun.
Yeah, that could be. And it doesn't. Well, see, I don't like stat arrays. I don't like point buys anymore. I used to because I felt that they were. After having rolled lots of crappy characters,
right?
I felt that point buys could be a way to get out of having crappy characters just because you rolled crappy. Not having looked really closely at the methods already given, but if we had just used the method 1 from AD&D, then it would have been fine with that. 46 drop lowest. But after using that for so long, it seems like there's not a lot of variability. I've mentioned it before. There's issues that I don't like.
Ability and character, especially during the 3rd edition era.
Where are you going to put your 12?
Yeah.
Where are you going to put your 16?
Yep.
Blah 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 blah. And that's kind of it's weird. And some people like that. It's no big deal. It's just it's my preference. It's preferences.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's one method.
Yeah. Kind of fun. Want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, the next one is, I'm going to share.
Yeah. This is old news. A lot of folks talked about that at the end of last week and the weekend, but I think it's fun to discuss.
Let's see. Share.
It's about Hasbro purchasing D&D Beyond. Look at that cash, baby. 146 million? Dang.
I wonder how that gets divvied up.
Yeah, I don't know. The people at D&D Beyond got to be the ones that own it. Some pretty happy campers, I would think.
Right. I think the whoever owns that property, I'm sure they get the lion's share of it.
And so it's interesting that they bought this. So now the website that they had worked with D&D Beyond and had all the 5e content, and they put new content when they were playtesting content for 5e into D&D Beyond. Now they own it. It's under their umbrella. And there have been several other YouTubers that were making some, guesses what might this lead to. And one of them is, do you think it'll lead to them purchasing a VTT? And
well, there were some kind of yammerings about that already.
My thought is, first of all, I'm cool with this. Man, I don't blame them. It's a smart move. If they purchase a VTT, the next question is, will they make it? If let's say they buy one, let's say they buy Roll20 or they buy Fantasy Grounds. Fantasy Grounds being one of the higher end ones. Could you see a day then? And I would say, I think yes. Could you see a day where they get this VTT, they make it perfectly D&D, and then they don't let you port D&D Beyond material through other VTTs? The guy DM's Lair talked about that, and something I didn't understand the computer language. Something about you have to make the API do this. Well, I didn't know what the API was, but he said he imagined that one day they may have their own VTT. They have D&D Beyond, and D&D being so big, they might crowd out, not permanently, but close, all the other VTTs. Because if you can't play D&D with all the bits and bobs that makes it really smooth on Forge or Roll20 or whatever other Owlbear Rodeo, whatever you use, then a lot of players would be like, let's just use Wizards. It's got all. I wonder.
I don't know if that would be a benefit to them.
No,
because they'd actually have to go out of the way to do that. So they would have to pay developers to do that.
To make it exclusive?
Probably. I don't think that I don't think it's something that.
Well,
yeah, I don't think because all that stuff exists currently in those VTTs.
But I think the way this guy implied it, and I don't know the details. Maybe some people here visiting, to some of the guys in the comments area, maybe they know. I think D&D Beyond supplies that API to all the different VTTs.
Okay, so the VTTs outside, have to access an API to get the content. If it works that way, if it's not content that you port and then there's a copy of it on those other VTTs.
Right.
If it's an API, then all they have to do is turn off the API.
And Darth made a comment here at the end. You might want to throw that one up. That's a good comment. Says if that happens, then the smart move for the VTT companies is to cater all the other TTRPG games. It might be the only move.
Yeah.
And smart, I guess. I do kind of wonder if someone said, you want D&D or do you want all the other RPGs business? You would take D&D from a business viewpoint.
Oh, sure.
Because I heard that said one time during the third edition era at Gen Con by some of the people that were third party. They said, look, every single other game doesn't match D&D.
Correct.
And that was back at the tailing end of White Wolf's supremacy, which I'm not convinced they were supreme ever. I think they were still second always. I think Pathfinder was not truly first. It had a moment of glory, and then it was gone. So
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, especially if it happened really soon.
Or
because they have all kinds of poor decisions. That would be a poor business decision. It would alienate people.
It would.
So it would alienate a bit of their customer base. It would piss some people off, but they've been doing that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did it really. But I think the smarter move is to leave it alone.
I don't know, because I think in the short term, I think it would be smart. But I think in the long term, especially because I think it would most likely roll out during a 6th edition.
Why would it be smart to alienate those other VTTs?
Well, to make their content exclusionary, they would get all the money. And if you want to play D&D, which most people just play, there's still a whole lot of people, Joe, that only play D&D.
Well, sure.
They hardly even know other games exist.
Sure.
And so,
but if they say you can only play D&D on our VTT,
you can only play D&D using D&D Beyond stuff. That
Correct.
doesn't mean you couldn't create your own little formulas to work on your VTT, but I wonder how much effort. I don't know the ins and outs of how that would work, but I don't think they could say you can't play D&D on Roll20. It's just you don't get to port in all the cool D&D Beyond character sheets and all that other crap. But who says you couldn't port your own character sheet on?
Right. I think
I think in the long term, in the long term, what you said would, I think there'd be an initial small but loud minority that would get upset. They'd be like, you bastards. And they probably lose some people. And then people would just play D&D. What I think would be dangerous is if they roll this out just before or during the release of 6th edition, which is coming out in 2024. They can call whatever they want. It's 6th edition. Especially if they continue a bit of a pattern. You know, think 4th edition sucks. 3rd was good. 4th was bad. 5th was good. Whether you like it or not, it was a good sales thing. 6th might, who knows? I mean, I think most of us believe there's a bubble here. I believe there's a bubble. And D&D's about to burst, where D&D's not in the zeitgeist. But I could be wrong. It might just be part of the culture now. I mean, that's a permanent fixture.
It's possible. I really don't think it's a smart move for them to take to alienate more of their customer base than they already are. I mean,
yeah,
it might, like you say, there might be an initial dip, or there might where some people migrate to whatever their VTT at this point imaginary is, but who knows?
Yeah, and
it's all speculation. At this point, they may never do a VTT, because if they do, they really do have to hire some more developers.
Well, they do have more cash, being owned by Hasbro, and Hasbro has made WotC kind of the king. They're the king leg of their company now. WotC kind of is. It's kind of the number one leg, and I mean, it's more important than most of their other games, I believe. And
is Wizards,
Magic, and D&D, not D&D.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see.
You don't see, and here's the other thing: Wizards of the Coast keeps their internal financials opaque, so we don't. You can't really tell what's their moneymaker and what's not their moneymaker.
What about this move? They revamp D&D Beyond for 6th edition. They leave it open to play 5e and before, but then they make their 6th edition proprietary, because they're already talking like the 6th edition that they're trying to push the electronic stuff even more. Yeah, get that backyard, Max. Water it good, dude.
The wireless better reach out there, or you'll just be stuck in the house until we're done, and then
That's right. You can wait.
Yeah. You can water in the dark.
Water in the dark. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
mean, honestly, Wizards of the Coast already got a big chunk of sales from D&D Beyond.
Sure.
So
they're probably spending the money they earned from D&D Beyond.
It's possible.
I mean, and I don't blame them. I mean, now D&D Beyond proved to be a good partner. They were a great asset to them. People love the D&D Beyond crap. Why not buy it? And I think there was discussion of they had a clause in there. Or did they not know if there was a clause where they would keep the people? It'd be stupid to get rid of the D&D Beyond people. They run it so well. Why would you boot them?
Yeah, they don't ever make bad business decisions, do they?
Who, D&D Beyond?
WotC.
Yeah, true. WotC may very well, or Hasbro. Yeah, boot them all. Oh well, we'll see.
We'll see.
I think there's something. I think this is the beginning of something, but what it is, I don't know. So, all right.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Is it's as much speculation as a lot of people are putting into the purchase of D&D Beyond, and Hasbro's had a what's it called? A finance call. It's not. That's the wrong terminology. But basically, they're discussing their portfolio and stuff with their shareholders, other involved people. They have a call, and people are like, "Oh, what's going to be discussed?" And blah 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 blah. I'm like, I don't care because I don't care about that company.
Right.
I don't do anything with any of their stuff, so except their back catalog, which they don't care about anymore.
No,
So.
they don't. Not really. Oh well, who knows? We'll see. It may not mean anything.
You know what I will say is I hope Wizards of the Coast makes all the wrong decisions and they sink into the swamp after they've fallen over and caught on fire.
That would be truly wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And somebody else can take the helm and see where what direction the hobby goes. Maybe it'll be less stupid than it is now.
We can always hope.
Always.
Yep. All right. Shall we move into the main topic?
Main topic today is what stats got to do with it. We're going to talk about how much stats matter in the various iterations of D&D, apart from 4th because we don't play that, and 5th edition is So how much they do, how much they should. I'm not sure how much the should part we're going to get into, but we'll get into some of it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and from a D&D perspective, this discussion, and Joe has several links. DMing with Charisma, I just thought that kind of inspired me, so I'll put that in there. That particular link goes back to, oh gosh, what is the date on that one? October 2011.
2011.
And the guy gives his own interpretation of what stats mean. So if you have anywhere from a 1 to a 25 and the 6 D&D stats, we're focusing on D&D, he gives a little short sentence, like he says. If you have an 8 to 9 strength, I'm reading from the website. I guess I could share that, couldn't I? Oh, you share.
I'm sharing it.
Good man, share.
Way ahead of you.
Yeah, 8 to 9.
If you were actually paying attention, you would have seen that.
I don't pay attention to you, dude. This is a show. I'm the talent. I got to make it happen. So he has trouble even lifting heavy objects, 8 to 9, so -1. So clearly we're using I would say where the 3rd edition era began with.
This is the 3rd edition scale.
Yeah. And then a 18 to 19 can break objects like wood with bare hands. 22 to 23 can pull very heavy objects at appreciable speeds. Anyway, he gives his own interpretation, and they're okay. I read some. I mean, that's fine. That's a good general way to think of things. The 6 stats, I guess the first question is, why so many dang ability scores anyway?
6 is not very many.
I don't know. Can we have 2? Physical and mental?
Good, but that would be very abstract and not as useful, I think. Some systems have a lot more than 6.
Ha! Brownie points to Patrick. Look what he says at 757.
Oh, yeah.
He's got it. That's correct.
Obscure 80s reference.
That is obscure 80s. You win the booby prize tonight. Unfortunately, not really boobies, but you win it.
Right.
Well, good job, Patrick. So anyway, so you and there's games that have done that, but D&D, I guess it would be hard to delineate if you have all the classes. You know, you kind of got the wise cleric, the dexterous thief, the strong fighter, the dexterous ranger, the charismatic, if you go through a 3rd edition, sorcerer or paladin, the charismatic paladin. Constitution, maybe barbarian, right? Big hit point guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess intelligence wizard. So I think I agree with you. I don't think that idea, while I've toyed with it, especially with Mud Sword, I'll cut down the stats. Yeah, that's probably not something. Thirsty guys, what happened to comeliness? Nothing happened to it. We're just not using it. But I remember those days, comeliness. We used that for a while, didn't we?
That was in Unearthed Arcana.
That's what I thought.
Probably was introduced in a Dragon Magazine article, and then it found its way into Unearthed Arcana back in AD&D 1st edition days, and we tried using comeliness, but we just didn't use it a lot.
It didn't mean much in our game. So you're pretty. First Ed, yeah. I think Unearthed Arcana was First Ed Thurston Howe. I believe so. I think so. But sure, I'll take your word for it. But
okay, so hold on. We got another obscure movie television reference here.
Oh, what's that?
Thurston Howell the Fourth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's Gilligan's Island, yo.
Where's Lovey at, baby?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, dude.
That's really clever. Cool.
Oh, Darth says, hit Darth up. He's got a comment at 8 o'clock. Interesting. More you simplify the stats, the more each will have to cover, making description more and more vague. Right. And Joe is, so it would be very abstract. And yeah, that could be a bit of a problem, I think.
Yeah. Less useful. I would rather there be more than less as long as the stats were relevant to the gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah. And John Schlow at 8 o'clock says, Year Zero engine. I believe that is the Aliens engine. The Aliens, is that right? Has 4 stats. It's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, wait, maybe Oriental Adventures. I can't recall.
Right. These are rules light games, so less is more for
those.
Lighter.
Yeah, definitely lighter. But anyway, with D&D in particular, focusing on D&D. So if we think, okay, there's enough stats, how important are they to play now? Now, when Joe posted this on Facebook, and one of the Facebook sites we're on, somebody commented, well, obviously they're super important. You don't need to watch this video. And I almost played Mean Randy and came back at him with this information. See, Randy's done his homework today. See, Randy's got, you guys can't see this very clearly, but it's basically the stats through the additions. And in OD&D, if my Google foo was correct, there was no modifiers whatsoever for your stats at all, whether you had a 3 or an 18, until the Greyhawk supplement, definitely in the Moldvay or Eric J. Holmes basic set. Yeah, that was the case initially. So they did eventually come up to something like, if you had a score that was 6 or lower was a -1, 7 to 14 or 7 to 13 was a 0, and 14 to 18 was a +1, which means stats didn't mean anything.
Almost nothing.
No. And the only thing they could do, they did have this, if your prime requisite was like a 15 or higher, you got 10% or 5%. And if you got it's like a 13, you got 5%, 15, you got 10%, and experience point bonus. So you could definitely argue that stats did not matter in OD&D.
Did your classes have qualifying stat qualifiers?
Nope.
So you could be a wizard or a magic user.
Yes.
With a 3 intelligence.
Correct.
And it didn't affect your character at all.
No.
So did old D&D have like percentages for being able to memorize spells and stuff like that?
No. Stats didn't. The only thing that I saw, and I'm not sure if this was a Greyhawk supplement or not, they did have missile modifiers for dexterity for some reason. You had like a +1 or +2, I think. That was kind of weird, but not for strength and not for intelligence. And you were allowed to subtract from up to 3 points from intelligence or wisdom to add to your strength if you were a fighter, and vice versa if you were a wizard. But only, this was weird, only for counting for experience point to get that percentage, not for actual change. I didn't know that. So if you had a 10 intelligence and a 13 strength, you could drop your 10 to an 8 or a 7 and think of your 13 as a 14. When you got
right.
But when
I remember that.
Bonus.
Drop 2, raise 1. Yeah.
No, but that got modified more later on. In the Beckme editions and Eric J. Holmes and Moldvay, generally speaking, your modifiers were. Let me see if I can share this. It's a document that I.
Yeah, I looked to see if you had that in any of the email.
I thought I sent it to you. I guess I did not.
You did not.
So, but you could trade things out. This is just a quick.
You could send that to me, and then I could share it if you want.
That would probably be smart. Give me a second here. Nah, I'll share it. I'm already here.
The various editions had different emphasis on stats, but in general, it increased over the editions.
Yep.
As the closer you get to now. Although now, I don't know if you would say the stats matter more or less
Did I
in
share?
5th edition.
I thought I shared.
All I see is let me see, what is that? Yeah,
Blinky.
Bupkis.
Okay. Stop sharing, Randy. Share screen.
You don't know how to properly share, apparently.
I can't share apparently.
Your sharing facility is
It doesn't have to be a PDF, does it?
no, but basically you're sharing a screen. So whatever screen you're looking at it now, there it is. You figured it out.
I'm slow, but it'll happen sometimes.
Now, if you can zoom a little, there we go.
Okay. So let's scooch that over. So if you look for OD&D, there's another one that's interesting. Charisma had a hirelings and reactions modifiers. There was a table for that in OD&D in the first 3 books.
Yeah, well, just to let you know, viewers are not having a good time right now because it's kind of skewed over to the right too far.
Oh, my kingdom for a skewing. Let's see here.
There we go. That's much better.
Is that better for the viewers? No. So if I flatten it, it doesn't help. Okay. So anyway, yeah, nothing except for charisma. I did see in the Greyhawk a supplement that made it a +1, -1, like you said. Then Beckme, they had those modifiers, basically -3 to +3. That was interesting. And the Rules Cyclopedia was mostly that. I actually looked in the Rules Cyclopedia for those. Beckme had some different. If you looked at the Mold Vey versus the Eric J. Holmes versus the Mincer, there were some slight differences. That was essentially it. And then it wasn't until 1st edition that we got more familiar modifiers. People usually think of this. So strength modifier was -3 to +3 to hit. And your damage would be variable by percentile dice. Intelligence was nothing. You got Bubkus for that, except immunity to illusions eventually. Wisdom -3 to +4 on magical attack spell bonus. It wasn't clear, actually, Joe, whether or not druids got that.
Right, because it said clerics.
Yeah, it said clerics. And there was a spell failure decrease. So if you had a 3 wisdom, you had an 80% chance to fail. If you had a 16 or 17, you had no % chance to fail. And then dexterity +4 to -4. So of course, just to be clear, I'm describing these modifiers as if they're going from generally from highest to lowest. So it's between a 3 and 18 range. You did get a reaction roll from -3 to +3 when you got surprised. I didn't read in detail what that meant. And then versus missile attacks. I was kind of odd because sometimes some of the streaks were just, or the changes in the numbers were not consistent. They just kind of picked them out of a hat. They're like, oh, I want this to be +3, so I'm going to do it. And then your max number of henchmen was determined by charisma. Con was -2 to +2. Most people probably remember if you were a fighter, you could get +3 or +4 per hit die. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So stats definitely start to matter when you get into
AD&D.
AD&D for sure. Rules Cyclopedia a little bit too.
Yeah.
You could play cool things like, I think.
Well, there's a lot more that the stats do in 1st edition. I mean, you get more bonuses. You get a greater range of modifiers, let's say, in Beckme. But in 1st edition, you got a lot of different things that your stats do. And then you have that weird percentile strength deal.
Yeah, and that was fun rolling it, but it was kind of weird. I mean,
it was weird
because you're like, I think a regular 18 was +1, +2, or something
like that. +1, +2, or +1, +3, something like that.
Yeah, and I think maybe if you check those articles out that Joe will link in the show notes on Grognardia, he goes through a lengthy discussion of how abilities become more and more important through the editions.
Right.
And he stops around 2nd, but I would say it becomes even more important when you come to 3rd edition.
Yeah.
3rd edition abilities are practically king.
Right.
They determine
because they're really tied into lots of different things.
Yeah. Attacks, skills. Let me get to 2nd edition. This is where it gets kind of funny. I didn't realize this, but second edition, their stats range from 1 to 25. They showed the modifiers.
Mm.
And they still used, percentile. Some of the modifiers changed, like wisdom, instead of being, what was it in second? What was it in first? -3 to +4. It went to -6 to +4. It said priest. Now, priests, I put that in red. Everybody can see that, right? I put that in red for wisdom here. For this is this is second edition. Right there.
Yeah.
I thought druids were priests, and so some of the dodge bonuses say, but pretty much nothing changed. They did get away from percentile dice to, I imagine, a D20 roll, because notice for charisma, you went from -8 to +20 instead of percentiles.
Mm.
And I believe, I don't know, in first edition, did races give you any modifiers to stats? I didn't see that. I'm sorry, I didn't check that. Do races give you any modifiers to stats, I wonder?
I think that started in third, but I could be remembering that incorrectly. I don't have any second edition books. I can't verify that.
Okay.
First edition, I don't believe what you had were stat maximums and minimums. You didn't have stat boosting.
That's what they brought in. Yeah, max and mins. That came in first edition in order to be
there were some supplements, though, that came out in second edition days that might have changed that. But I'm pretty sure first edition, you just, you got what you got.
Yeah.
And then you qualified for a race or you qualified for class, and then you went from there.
Yeah, Shadow and Sun says, yes, races did get bonuses in first. Okay, they did.
Okay.
Good to know. Did not remember. So stats do really start to matter in first and second edition.
It has been a while since we played those editions.
It is funny, though, because the Grognardia guy makes a pretty interesting argument that was it Grognard? It was another one that I read. Somewhere I read made a very interesting argument that if you have if you're going to have stats be such a big deal, and you're going to have minimum requirements to be a certain class, why not just haircut? What is a haircut? No haircut, Shadow. I got mine. That's a pretty decent haircut, not as short as Joe's, but yeah. But why not just ditch the stats and let fighters be fightery and do fightery stuff and give them an increasing bonus to damage as they level?
Say that again?
So if you have to have a 9 strength to be a fighter, right? Or you have to have a certain strength to do a certain action, why not just, or to be a certain race, why not just say, hey, get rid of all those different modifiers and just say fighters get bonuses to damage as they level up?
Yeah, there probably is a superior way to do it. They've done stats slightly different ways throughout the years.
Yeah,
but I think you could you could ditch having a bunch of modifiers and just say have categories. Your strength is this high, you can do these things, and then you only need the modifiers for certain things anyway, for skills or whatnot. So you could instead do the old way that was suggested by what you said was it Moldve who suggested the roll under?
Yeah, he was the first to do skills that way, according to an article that I read. I can't, that's not 100% fact. That's just me going on my memory from reading an article about that. But yeah, Mulvey did that.
It really would help a lot of folks who have issues adding and subtracting whole numbers. It just seems here the last, I don't know how long, folks have been balking at math in the game.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a crowd. We're not part of that crowd. We're okay with the math, though it is interesting.
You and I, but there's lots of folks in the OSR who like small numbers. and not just them. There's lots of people we know or have met throughout the years who, oh, I have to add things, or um, they don't understand why there's math, and we've heard it, and it's on Twitter, it's in Facebook, it's all over the place. Math, we don't like math. But if you want to do that, then you can do the roll under thing, get rid of most of these modifiers, and just make categories for your stats, and say if you have this level of a stat or this high of a number in a stat, you're capable of doing X things related to that stat.
Yeah. It's funny. You watch the progression of these, on these old, what I'll call the TSR era D&D, this progression with all the stats starting to affect more and more things, right? As you go, you start to wonder if you need to be effective. Well, that sounds like modern terminology, being effective for more modern games. Why bother rolling? And of course, third edition, which brings in the point buy and stat array, I believe. Well, there was some variants of those in second. Remember, I think I pointed out once in the second edition DM's guide, they have a bunch of crazy ways to generate stats, and there's 4 or 5 methods in the first edition player's handbook. But it seems that clearly D&D was wanting stats to take a more prominent role. And I think really overall, as much as I bring up the idea of we can streamline it and do this, I think I'm good with it. I think I'm good with stats being pretty important. I mean, that makes one fighter different from another. And I think this is where third edition, if you're a fan of stats really mattering, third edition kind of takes the cake here.
It does. And that's something that's alluded to here by T-shirted historian, and welcome.
Yeah. Reading our mind.
Pathfinder in third edition are very similar, especially first edition Pathfinder, like he says.
Yeah.
By the time you get to 6th level, you have so many modifiers for feat, stats, equipment, everything. It was ludicrous.
Yeah.
It was ludicrous to track. I mean, doing the math is no big deal, but it was ludicrous to track all the different things to add in, because you could easily miss something. Yes.
I really did like the uniformity of the stat modifiers, though. It's the stat score minus 10 divided by 2 round down. And they pretty much have kept those 3rd, 4th, 5th Pathfinder. I like that. But like T-shirt said, I'm not a huge fan of it all being such a well done, Thurston. Stats don't care about your feelings. That's some truth. I don't give 2 craps. I'm really strong. It says you got a 12 string. Shut up. +1. You know what I mean? He got a little crazy because these stats didn't just a fighter's con gave him hit points, affected his saving throw, fortitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affected any skill that involved constitution, stamina, and so it was pretty important. And sometimes it helped him qualify for certain feats.
Right. So, and that's the thing. The interconnectedness of all the different parts of third edition made it difficult to house rule without having to worry about ramifications.
And do you think they went to the point buy because they wanted people to be able to play more about the character they wanted to play instead of rolling to see what they got to play?
Right.
That's right, Powder Puff. Math does not care about your feelings. I tell my students that all the time. Randy cares about your feelings. Math.
No, Randy doesn't.
Oh, I tell him this though, Joe. That's what I tell him. I care about you as your professor.
You need to pray about that.
I do, because it's kind of lying. That's probably not good. Kind of lying. If you're a decent person, I care about you. No, that's not true. But I get tired of that. Students. Okay. Side note. They get all upset at you. Why did you give me a C-? I did not give you a C-.
You earned it.
You earned every bit of it. I added the points up, used the scale. That's what you got. I didn't give you a thing. You earned it. Congratulations. That's hard for students to sometimes think, oh, you gave me this, you didn't give me this. Like, I'm about to get bombarded with that bull crap here in about 2 weeks. So
awesome.
Yes, fun times, crybaby time.
Crybaby.
But so as you mentioned earlier, so this whole third edition era, and it flowed into like I said, 4th and 5th. I mean, notice not much changed. You got modifiers by race. There were some limitations. No limitations in 3rd and 4th, so you could keep adding ability points as you go. But But for 5th edition, you had kind of cap of a 20 on your stats, and so that kept things down. Of course, that gives them the what do they call it? What's the thing they praise for 5th edition? Their format of bounded accuracy.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's overrated.
mathematics, just keeping things within a certain range every level, which you could call that boring too.
Bounded accuracy is fear of large. No, it's not even large numbers. 2-digit numbers. I mean,
it's fear of variety.
Yeah.
Unpredictability. You can make arguments from both sides that it's both good and bad. Good
cookie cutter.
Yeah, but it's good for predicting.
Sure.
Class abilities. Bad for interesting variety and different campaign experiences, I would say.
Right.
So anyway, let me unshare because now we're kind of done with that part.
Yeah. I understand though that the cap of 20.
Yeah.
Like you had the barbarian exception there, but there might be others. But
the barbarian, I don't know. I'm not a 5e master. I have played it.
I just heard it in passing.
Yeah, I have just I've read it. I played enough, but not too much. I guess for me at this point in my life, I think Joe and I are on the same page. I love. Oh, what is Dar saying? Saying something good?
Say what I said earlier. He doesn't like point buy or stat array, both limit variation, what stats you can have, and I feel create more cookie cutter PCs. That is exactly correct.
Terribly predictable, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with you too. I just, for me, honestly, and this is me more than maybe Joe. When I sit down, I don't care what character I play. So I 3d6 down the line, see what I get. Oh look, got a 14 wisdom. That's my highest. Guess I'm playing a cleric. 17 strength. Looks like I'm playing a fighter. It don't bother me at all. So highest stats in 11. Looks like I'm dead in the first combat.
You don't care about the game.
I don't.
That's your problem. You don't care about the game.
That is Joe cannot be more accurate. I enjoy playing. I'll keep playing.
All those books on your shelves they're just a compensation for you not caring.
Compensation just so I could be on Joe's podcast because it's really Joe's. I'm just trying to be a part of things.
Mm-hmm.
I've faked it for 42 years. So yeah. No, when I'm kind of like that as a hey, later, Larry. Larry's booking. He's got to go.
No.
Stop! In the name of love.
No.
In the name of friendship, Larry, don't leave us.
Yes. Don't leave. Don't go.
Don't go, dude. About to get good. So, okay, stat mods. So yeah, the guy on Facebook. I wish he'd listen because I kind of agree with him. They do matter in D&D now, and in most
they matter more. Well,
yeah,
from 3rd edition and 4th edition, 5th edition they matter.
Yeah,
but I think they matter to a lesser extent.
Well, don't forget they have 6 saving throws tied to each stat.
Oh, that's true.
So, and you dump charisma if you want to until somebody decides to banish you. Then you'd be like,
okay, shoot. I stand corrected. I will say that they mattered in a different way.
Yes,
but probably not less.
No, I think 3rd edition was the heaviest handed. Yeah, I agree with Thurston Howe.
It was novel when I was in 3rd edition for me
for a long time
because contrary to what Randy said earlier in the stream, the rolling methods, the generation methods for characters are in the DMG, not the player's handbook.
Both editions, 1st and 2nd?
I don't know about 2nd, but I do remember the phrase consult your DM. He will tell you what method to use.
Consult your DM. He will let you know if you get to have statistics.
Something else that was in one of those articles was in old D&D, the DM rolled your stats.
That was about for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In terms of the grand scheme of D&D, that was about a 2-minute rule because before long people were like, this is dumb. And then once stats started to matter, I imagine Gary's like, I don't want them blaming me for anything else more than what they're already blaming me for. So you roll your old damn character.
Yeah, that's probably true, Thurston. Maybe it's a nice convention for newbies. So yeah, when you're first in, you don't know what's what. throw down a point, a stat array is even easier. You don't even do
Stat
point
array would be
five.
great for a newbie. Why don't you play this Dwarven Fighter? Here's some stats.
Yeah, and
But I
then
think
roll.
after that, I put point by last. That's too.
That's fiddly.
That's fiddly. I would go with stat array first, and then when they like maybe do a stat array character for their first character, they're really digging it. Say, hey, roll the dice. You know, unless they want to. I like this guy. I want to play him. Keep him or let him roll their own. You know, roll your own. So yeah, I think that's probably the best. So yeah, I think our slight detractor on Facebook would have been surprised that we ended up mostly agreeing with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's a lot to say.
I think that was his comment was with tongue firmly placed in cheek.
I hope so. I didn't respond too badly, so I was trying to be nice because I hope it wasn't that. What about other stats? Now, the ability scores are one thing, but there's a few others, and we've done a little talking with this. Did you get a chance to watch the video? Well, we've already talked about the video that the pundit did on hit points.
Yes, I did watch that.
Did you get to watch the other one that this new guy on armor class, how they used an evasion score, which is more like 3rd edition unearthed arcana option where you can have a defensive value and then armor is DR. So hit points as a stat, are they needed? Are they necessary?
Well, I like pundits' use of them being a risk assessment tool. So you have X amount of hit points. Okay, are these things that you have up here, hit points, armor class, and saving throws, are they considered stats?
They're statistics. Yes, they are. They're derived statistics based upon what you roll.
Right, but I mean by the game specifically. I'm being a little pedantic.
They're not ability scores.
Right.
But ability scores and hit points and armor class and saving throws would be considered statistics.
Okay.
For numbers that you use to make decisions. So yeah, I mean, I think in any way you would categorize them as statistics in some way.
All right. So yes, I have X amount of hit points. If you have 10 hit points, low level character, you have 10 hit points, or you're a higher level character and you've been beat down and you only have 10 hit points left. And you're going to have to decide whether or not you're going to continue on with the adventure or even go, considering what's there. They help you make that decision.
Yeah. And I think we discussed it before, but the idea of the DM keeping track of that and keeping it secret, probably not so great.
I remember hearing about this dude who was like, I will tell you how healthy you are.
Right.
Shut up. That's not D&D.
That's you being a control freak, right?
Yeah, that's a control freak.
Yeah.
I would not there's probably folks who are just fine with that, and that's fine, but no, not for me.
Yeah.
But hit points are good. I think the risk assessment thing is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I do too. I think if you follow that link, are you going to post that one too, Joe?
All these links will be posted in the description show notes.
It's basically our hit points dumb, and he comes down on the side that it's a way for characters to assess their risk. Thurston Howell asks, are we on D4 hit points for spellcasters? I am. Joe won't do it though. He resists.
I liked the bump in 3rd edition to D6s.
Yeah.
But wizards have really good spells. Perhaps they should be a D4.
And they probably should be pretty weak sauce when it comes to combat.
I'm even fine with them never getting a bonus to hit above +1.
That's interesting.
Where do they even get any combat training except for in the field? And most of the time they are ducking and dodging and being in the back and hopefully protected by the folks with metal skins.
Dude, we are given so much. Our thoughts are so 1st and 2nd edition-y. I mean, like in 2nd edition, right? You didn't get a bump in attack bonus till 3rd or 4th level.
As a wizard?
And your saving throws didn't go up till 5th level. So, I mean, yeah. I think that's probably, you know what? When you think about that, you probably really should be, I probably was just too hard on you, Joe, honestly, as a wizard player, because you were like just minutes away from death.
Oh, I'm thinking Pathfinder. I think they
Oh,
got the D6 in Pathfinder.
yeah.
Is that what I'm thinking?
Yes, I think Pathfinder did it. Yeah. I definitely, yeah, Sorcerer's got a D6 in third. Darth is right. I think
That's fine. They sucked as a class in third edition anyway.
3.5 they got a little better. Pathfinder they got a little better, but they weren't the greatest.
I think that they were trying to make a class out of whole cloth that didn't have the standard way of doing the spell memorization, and they had no. All they said was, you get spells that you can just cast. You don't have to memorize them, and
Right.
they thought that was good enough.
Right.
And
Limited
most people were like, yeah, you can know 5 spells.
Yeah.
that's
You do
no
like
good.
a fourth level sorcerer, you can know 5 spells.
Unless you're fine with spamming a particular spell all day.
Magic missile.
Yeah, that's boring.
That became predictable too. Yeah, but hit points. I think Pundit had the right of it. I'm not inclined to think of it as just your physical body. I think risk assessment is pretty good. It also handles the idea of how can I function. You know, I'm a 20th level D&D character. How can I function at 100 hit points? What does T-shirt say?
The Arcanist. Yeah, because the T-shirt historian says that Arcanist is the best PF1E caster, hands down. Pathfinder 1E. Yes, yeah, I think so too. It's a variation of the Magister from Arcana Evolved.
Yeah,
but yes,
he was pretty good too. We played that. Joe played that character for a while.
He had too many fiddly bits.
He did have a lot of fiddly bits.
Yeah, the spells had too many fiddly bits.
Yeah,
but apart from that, I liked it.
Well, you used to just rave about the diminished and heightened effects of every spell, and then never use it.
Yeah, because in the heat of the moment, you're like, "Well, I'm going to use the spell," and you're like, "Oh, I could have used the diminished and the heightened," and I'm like, "No, because no."
Yeah, Darth said the sorcerer is a half-baked. What did he say? Half-baked wizard.
Yeah,
and should have been shelved. Yeah, honestly, the better sorcerer was I thought the Scion was better. Even the 3/0 Scion, who was weak, he was weak, even weak as the sorcerer, but he had a lot more variability and things he could do. The 3/5 Scion, however,
way too powerful,
way too much. So he was like the sorcerer on crack, and really tough. And he could be outdone by the wizard at the highest levels. The wizard had some great spells he didn't have, but it sure didn't seem like it for about levels 1 to 15. He was really boss. He was like the best of all worlds. I can do all things, and I have 900 power points. But yeah, what about his thought? The guy in the second video on armor class, he brought out, and you and I have talked about this, and I do like it. We've never really pulled the trigger in our D&D games, but instead of armor class, just a general measurement of how hard you are to hit. What if you had a defensive value, which he called evasion, based on dexterity, and I think he was using OSR rules, so he would use your dex modifier plus, was it dex plus 10 plus your bonus to hit? I think that's how he did it.
I missed this when I was looking through the notes,
okay.
And I didn't watch the video.
Watch the video. It's interesting. It's very short, about 3-4 minutes. He says you use it's 10, so he called it evasion. Your evasion modifier was 10 plus your dex modifier plus your bonus to hit, because your bonus to hit determines how good you were in combat.
Okay, so was it still a number that the attacker had to beat?
The attacker had to beat on a D20.
So it's no different.
Well, yes, but then he used armor as DR.
Okay, so I get what he's doing, and I agree to some extent. Having heavy armor does not make you harder to strike.
No, that's what he said.
Right. So I understand what he's saying. But what you're describing as what he's come up with is he's saying armor class with a different name plus DR, which I get it. I mean, it's the same. It's almost the same thing except for slightly different modifiers thrown in there.
Yeah.
But I'd have to see it working.
Yeah, I mean,
that particular system works. I do prefer armor as DR.
yes, and now his DR wasn't very generous. It was like minus. His plate mail was -4, but he made a comment: daggers couldn't hurt you without a bonus to damage if you had plate armor, because you did D4 damage and you had -4, you were fine. And I'm sure he didn't mention magic either. So if you wanted to add, if magic added to DR, I believe if we looked at Unearthed Arcana from 3.5, I believe it had a system like that. I just wouldn't want to go back into third edition because all the fiddly bits. Yeah, so I do like I said, his name for evasion, you could call it armor class. You could just call it defense, your defense, and then your DR would subtract from damage.
Right. I'm going to star a few of these things so we can, because the a couple of things that aren't really related to what we're talking about, but are interesting.
Okay,
We'll talk about them a little bit later.
Yeah, we're not going to forget you.
Yes. So yeah, I like the idea that armor is DR. I like the idea that you have a defensive value that is your armor class, and dodging is something that, and this is something in Palladium, right? You have your to hit, and then you have a dodge, and you have I don't think you have an evasion, but you have a dodge. There's 2 or 3 things that you have as combat values that you can bring to bear, and they all make sense. However, they also make combat a little more convoluted than D&D is. So if you're going to with D&D, you got a 1 roll, and you determine whether you've been hit or not,
right?
Whether you've been affected by the hit. So if you would do something different, I would in the spirit of D&D, I would prefer 1 roll.
Yes.
And then that 1 roll tells you what you need to know. And then you have a damage roll.
Well, his system does. 1 roll is a hit.
Right. I'm what I'm saying is with Palladium, there's a lot of different fiddly things that's similar to what he's talking about, not the same, but it's more complex and may not be appropriate for D&D to add in.
Oh, I see. Okay. What about saving throws? I remember early on, you used to complain early on. Why do you even get saving throws? Magic is powerful, man.
Well, sure.
I mean, you shouldn't even get saving throws. And I remember the first time I saw a spell you didn't get a saving throw for, I thought, that's ridiculous. But you were the opposite. Hey, what's up, Bruce?
I get that. Saving throws, but it's part of the randomness of the game, I would say. Mm-hmm. Because it's like I hit you with a sword, you're dead. You're going down. You're not recovering from that.
Right.
But
it's compared to, so you're saying that's just the wizard's version of not being able to go, oh, I cast Charm Person, you're my puppet.
Right. So there's got to be a way to resist. And you see it in you read it in stories, you see it in TV shows and movies, how someone goes, no, not today, Satan, or whatever.
Right.
Get out of my mind. So, yeah, you got to have a resistance of some kind, or it doesn't necessarily mean no effect. Lots of saving throws are only offer partial protection from magic or other effects. Like you make a saving throw, but you still might take damage. You just don't die.
Fireball. Yeah, you're taking something. Yeah. Yeah. What about, and we talked about this, especially maybe for Mudsword, what about opposed checks? I always thought that sounded good. I know they're both extra rolls. If I cast the spell, there's 1 roll. You make a saving throw. But if we made opposed checks, that might be, I always thought the caster power check versus your ability check or whatever you want. I guess
there's a lot of different ways to do it. It depends on how many rolls you want and how. Once you get used to a system, all this stuff doesn't matter as far as time at the table for combat or task resolution or whatever. So if you have to do an opposed roll to charm someone, So I roll my caster power and you roll your resistance, let's say. If you want that to be part of your game, that's not, if you know what you're doing, that's not going to add too much of anything. It's only going to add something when you have folks that are having to consult their character sheet all the time, or don't know the rules very well and stuff like that. So once you know what you're doing, then it's not that big of a deal. Even if you want to do that with combat, where except for the DM, this will be hard on the DM, especially you who like to throw out lots of minis sometimes. So a lot of times you like just the one big enemy.
I like the big one big enemy, but it's fun sometimes to see you guys go, holy crap, we got 40 foes.
Yeah, but if you had to make opposed attack or defense rolls on our attacks, it would be a pain in the butt, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then you might as well just have armor class, because I'd probably be like, I'm tired of it.
Right.
What is I'm having a hard time. My screen is all screwed up. I'm trying to get it back to the standard screen, and I can't read everybody's comments. Bruce says, Randy, when I can't tell what that is. So.
Randy, when I roll for a grab or bull rush, I always include an extra D20 in the rolling package. It depends on if I hit the target first, but I find it seems to work well in my combats.
Oh, yeah. If I'm rolling, I'll do that too. I'll have roll an extra D20 in case it's a confirmation roll back in Pathfinder. If I roll 20, I'll have it. Or roll damage dice along with it. Yeah, that's always it. Rolling all the dice that you can is great. Is a great strategy in general.
Yeah, like rolling your dice, the damage dice at the same time you roll your attack roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we were saying.
Yep.
Proposal rolls are fine. Just need to do quick resolution. When people are familiar with the rules, that doesn't really make the game last longer or the combat.
5e really shouldn't even use, in my opinion, terminology like saving throws, because they're just ability checks. Because they're based on abilities. I mean, granted, you might have a proficiency bonus to 1 or 2 saving throws, so you get an extra +2, but it's really just make a strength check, make a wisdom check, But they called it a saving throw, and then that's fine.
Yeah, I prefer fewer. I'm not too opposed to it. I like the 3rd edition, three saves. I'm not even too opposed to just using 1 save like we were thinking about it.
Yeah,
and just applying stat modifiers as appropriate, or class modifiers. Yeah. So you only have 1 resistance factor to write down.
Yeah, I really like that. Swords and Wizardry did that, and then you could have different bonuses. You can give them magic items and give them a bonus to certain types of things. Mm-hmm. I'm really fond of that. It just speeds things up. But I don't ever want to go back. I'm sorry, guys, to Dragon Breath, Paralyzation, Poison, Death Magic. None of that's too. And they were grouped together in sometimes weird ways. And Rod Staff Wand, not a spell, but Rod Staff Wand. I always thought that was stupid. Should just just save versus spells. Why you got to have all these delineations that don't make much sense? Heck, just save versus magic. And like you said, heck, just save. Make a throw. Make a save throw. And Mudsword right now has that kind of setup where, you play a dwarf, you get a bonus to anything that's based on your stamina or something like that. And certain spells have, listed as this is a stamina attack, this is a constitution attack or whatever. So, and I think that's a good way to do it.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But it's not core D&D. So, look, I guess I brought it up. I was going to say, Leash of the Myth. I can't be friends with Randy anymore. AD&D 1 and 2E are awesome saves.
I take it back, Max. You're right. I love 1E and 2E saving throws.
Wow, you called Uncle fast on that.
I got to be friends with Max. He's coming to Cabin Con for 17, I think.
What?
We're going to get Max to Cabin Con, dude. I haven't told him that yet, but we are.
You might have to put him in a headlock for that to work.
That's all right. He's not that far away. My sister-in-law's from Alabama. I can hunt him down. Randy's canceled. Yeah, that's not popular.
Then we're canceling both of us, the whole show. Good night, everybody. It's not my favorite set of saves either.
No. Yeah, I knew that wouldn't be popular. Folks like that. Oh, Bruce says, this is interesting. Oh, he says CNC Siege Engine. I want to dig that game out. Dude, I got like several books. We need to play that, Joe.
Okay, bring it to Cabin Con. Have something ready. Oh, you're not DMing.
I'm not DMing, but maybe that'll be my campaign I'll run at Cabin Con, Castles and Crusades open-ended campaign we talked about. Anyway. All right. What about other games? Let's get out of D&D for a bit. Just in general, when you think about, I mentioned the mental and physical. What about the Cypher games? Numenera.
It's too abstract.
Joe and I took a little dip down there. Max. Okay, I got to answer Max. AD&D saves have soul.
Whatever that means.
What are you talking about, dude?
It's a flavor.
Will, fortitude,
same flavor.
Have soul.
It's flavor. So does
I get it. They do.
But all this is subjective. Everybody's entitled to their opinions.
But the Cypher system, Joe and I dabbled. He ran us through. What did you run us through? The Strange.
The Strange, yeah.
And I threatened to run Numenera, and I read 3/4 of it, and it's not bad. But you're right. There are 3 ability scores. Mental. What was it called? Your mental stat. Might.
Speed
and intellect.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and you burn through them. You use them as you play the game.
Yeah,
you spend points to do cool things. I don't know. It felt. I'm with you. It almost felt like it was way not enough, and things got real samey.
Right. I like many systems. I like the lore of the Strange a lot more than the rules.
Oh yeah. I feel the same way about Numenera. 9 billion years in the future. Some cool stuff.
Yeah, it's good lore, but I don't really care for the system. It's too abstract for me. There's lots of people that like it.
Yeah. Savage Worlds is pretty D&D level stats. I think they have 5.
Pretty much.
It's 5 stats instead of 6. What was it? Strength, agility, smarts, vigor, spirit. Yeah, that was it. Basically everything but charisma. And Biggest Geek is Torga's the easiest. A D20 roll for all task resolution and combat with an exploding D20 and card game mechanics as well as poker chips. Oh, and going down the Savage Worlds route, huh? Interesting.
I've looked at the Torg books. I remember being intrigued by them years ago.
Yeah. Is that system still the same T-shirt as it was? I know there's a new.
Are they? Is it in is it a property that's in production, or is it just books that you have to pay a premium on because they're old?
Thanks, Thurston. How I appreciate it. I just got uncanceled, so I guess you did too by default, Joe.
Uncanceled.
Yes, we're back in action.
Back in action.
More
yes.
Crap.
So yeah, for me, Cypher system is too abstract, too few moving parts. It's too rules light for me, but there's people that like it. Savage Worlds is close enough to the same level of as D&D. It's not the same, but it's on a level playing field, I think.
Yeah. Now, the others I listed were just some randoms came to mind. I've not played enough. I can't even recall the stats in Vampire. I can't recall the stats in Palladium or Rifts. I know Max probably could. Hackmaster, I noted that because didn't they have percentiles on almost every...
on all the stats, but they didn't have anything to do with necessarily have anything to do with what your bonuses were. The percentiles were advancing to the next stat.
Okay.
So every time you gain a level, you would get a roll, potentially get like a 2d10 or some dice that you would roll, then add that to the current percentile. And once it went to 100, you went to the next number up.
Okay. Yeah, so you would have even like a 1537, and once you got to 15100, it'd be a 16. Yeah. Wow, that's cool. And Biggest Geek is more or less still the same. And yes, Ulysses Spiel is reprinting and producing a new setup for it. It's added some things, but overall it's the same. Very easy to run and play.
Torg. This is
Torg.
Yes.
Yeah. That's got that whole jump between worlds thing that I know Max loves. He loves like Planescape stuff. It's got that kind of planar jumping vibe.
Yeah, Max's favorite is Planescape, in case anybody is wondering.
Yeah. Please, I would say please send him Planescape stuff for his birthday, but I don't know his birthday, and Planescape stuff's very expensive. So Max will have to buy his own.
So yeah, Vampire. Didn't they have the? I remember the old character sheet when I played it very briefly when I was in the army when I was in Germany, and had the bubbles next to everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure.
So many dots. I think like 4 or 5 dots is pretty strong.
Yeah.
4 or 5 dots filled in, you're a pretty strong character, but I don't remember the stats. Yeah, I don't have much to say about many other games. We don't spend too much. I know Savage Worlds, the system itself is swingy. So I would say this, that your stat itself, you might have a stat like agility that's keyed to shooting, but once your shooting stat gets past your agility stat, you're kind of in combat. Your agility stat don't matter as much because you're doing a lot of shooting, depending on your game system. So stats can become the attributes can become less important as the game progresses in Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
But then the stats of all your skills start to come into play. So stats are still a pretty big deal in Savage Worlds.
Right. And the way your advancement works is tied to your stat versus skill. If your skill is under your stat, it costs more or less depending. So they matter.
Yeah.
Either directly or indirectly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny. A lot of folks will say, I've heard people say Savage Worlds is a rules light game. It's not a rules light game.
It's probably moderate.
It's moderate. It's not heavy. D&D's classic D&D or any version of D&D is heavier than, well, yeah.
But on the scale, I don't know if you would still consider even D&D rules heavy, because most of it is D20 add mods.
Even third edition, which had a lot of crunchy bits.
Yeah, it had a lot of crunch, but it still wasn't that many.
Rules weren't convoluted or complicated.
Depending.
I don't know. Maybe I would consider, if you had a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put third edition about a 6 or a 7.
Yeah. But there's definitely ones that are way higher.
Oh yeah, but would you? Let's not go down that road.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know in my mind if I can think. Oh, Mortensen at Randy Aliens had 4 stats: strength, will, empathy, and agility. Yeah, pretty light on stats. That I know it was pretty nice, and you get so many points to distribute. Yeah, not bad. Did you have some starred you wanted to go back and look at, Joe? Comments? Or did you have more?
So does that end our?
Yeah, I didn't mean to be so abrupt. I don't know where else I would go with this. Stats are important. I think for me, I don't want a game where I have to worry about every single stat under the sun all the time. But I do like games where I've got some options and can use the stats to make the characters a little more unique.
Well, we talked a lot about how they do matter.
Yeah.
But I also alluded to the fact that we might talk about how much they should matter.
Oh, there's a good discussion.
Should is more a preference. So with D&D, you're stuck with the way it is, right?
Right.
So just like any game, you pick a game, and if you like the way the game plays out, including how the stats work, then you're fine. But if you're if you're someone who, I don't know anybody who would really be this way, but if you're someone who doesn't want your stats to matter, probably shouldn't be playing D&D.
Probably should be playing more story games.
Probably.
I mean, even Vampire has a lot of stats.
Yeah. Even if they're not your physical attributes or your mental attributes, if you're going to have stats.
Yeah.
And you're going to have things that are number based. So if you don't, let's make it more specific to attributes, to your skill ability, to your character's ability scores, like strength and dex and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know too many games that don't have that at all. I don't know any games I can think of off the top of my head that don't have that at all.
Dread doesn't.
Well, Dread, is that the
that's the horror game where you write a little paragraph.
That's not really an RPG though, is it?
It's technically an RPG. It's just more of a story game.
It's very abstract.
Its only mechanic is the Jenga tower.
Right. So I guess stuff like that
as a chance for failure, you pull from the Jenga tower. What other games have very, very few
What
stats?
about Amber?
Amber Diceless. I've not looked at that in years. I would guess there's not too many stats.
I'm just saying because it's a story game, it may not have stats.
Dude,
but
how about Cypher?
Bruce put it up.
Yeah. What about
Amber.
Cypher? Cypher, you describe, I am a gladiator that does this and has this ability. I mean,
but you do have stats.
Yeah, but they're very low. I mean, you wouldn't have to worry about too much, right? What are we trying to say here? If you didn't want to worry about stats at all, yeah, then you're out. You're almost getting out of RPGs, aren't you?
Yeah.
Diceless game. I'll call it an RPG because you are role playing and it is a game, but it feels like story time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rippers had Powder Puff Nerd. Rippers had stats because that was Savage Worlds.
Right.
So they definitely had stats.
But we did a lot of RP.
Yes, Thurston Howell the Fourth. No dice. Boo. I agree.
Yeah. Dungeon World, very limited stats. You have some though.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
So stats have to matter to some degree
for it to be a true game, I think.
Yeah, you would think. And so they probably should matter some. They and in the current age of gaming, they matter quite a bit.
Oh, Legion hit it. That's the one I was thinking of. Fate. Yeah. They use dice, but you have your aspects and your statement of your character.
Yeah.
I am a detective who hunts
very abstract.
Hunts werewolves but has trouble with alcohol.
Right.
You have these aspects, yeah.
And you have your playbook.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that Fate, or maybe I'm thinking of something else?
What is?
Have playbook
is Dungeon World, and Fate is. We played Dresden that one time when Jeff.
Right.
Yeah, we had that weird. Darth hit it. Even if stats have very little effect on the game, they do still help to define your character for sure.
Right. Oh no! Listen.
Oh.
Westbound. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Never.
Has stats and everything, but uses a poker deck instead of dice.
Yeah. I've seen a poker deck. There's a way to roll your stats in 3rd edition D&D. I still have that from a Dragon magazine. You draw from poker deck, not unlike the original Deadlands. You would play out, so you would draw a hand of poker, or more than that.
Percentile dice for the win from Thurston Howell.
Rollmaster games like that, Call of Cthulhu, yeah.
So Powder Buff Nerd. Oh yeah, I remember mostly story. This is in reference to Rippers.
Oh.
And my character flashing her boobies at the werewolves.
They were male. I think they were male werewolves, so they were stunned for a round. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
Let us move into.
So we're going to move on to the starred comments from T-shirted historian.
Yes. Don't forget those.
Where did they go?
There's a star. There's a star.
There they are. So T-shirted historian had a couple of comments about spellcasters in 3rd edition, and probably applies to Pathfinder as well. Because Geekus, this is probably an unpopular take, but I think metamagic is BS. You get power to do amazing things with your spells, but because of how they work, you have to be at least a 4th level to really make use of them. Well, I'm not opposed to that, because in my opinion, the metamagic should require the caster to be of sufficient power. Yeah. But so why would you bother getting metamagic until then? But you can get metamagic right out the gate. That's true. Right. It's a very weird. It's very weird how they had it.
You get empowered. You could literally pick in 3rd edition. Even you could pick maximize spell at 1st level, and it costs the slot 3 levels higher. You can't even use the dang thing.
Right.
But we were toying around with that with Mudsword as like spell secrets. I like the idea of a wizard gaining access to some of those meta magic feats, but more like either a talent or maybe something they can unlock during play, where the DM could gift them with a great secret from the spell book. Joe and I toyed with that in Mudsword. I kind of like that idea. So he might be the only wizard. Well, the only one he knows of that can still a spell, cast a spell without moving his hands, and maybe not all his spells, maybe just lower ones.
We also played around with spells having variable effects within it in
Yeah,
the description of the spell.
right.
So I like metamagic as a concept, but I think it was poorly delivered in third edition.
Yeah, it ended up. Oh, Larry Elliott's back. Sweet.
Hey,
Yeah, Patrick made a good point about meta magic. It's interesting. I like meta magic and Arcana Unearthed. Each time you take a meta magic feat, you got a number of uses per day, no spell level adjustment. Yeah, that's pretty good. That makes it useful out the gate.
yeah,
Probably a little too good at the lower levels, but not horrendously so.
yeah. I would say with the uses per day variation, you would have a level requirement before you could do the meta magic.
Yeah, like you don't want a first level wizard quickening a spell 3 times a day.
Nope.
Magic missile. Bam,
I
bam, bam.
mean, you would only get 1 or 2 spells, and then you'd be done
Yeah.
for the whole day.
So you could go Nova, not unlike a Scion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move along to our next bit here. Length of play session and scheduling is what you have.
This was just a one random question.
One random question. How long do your sessions last, and what is your preferred play schedule?
Right.
So I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Because I'm the boss today.
Right.
They last until we can't play no more. That's preferred.
Okay.
But that's not the way it works out. It usually works. Well, it kind of does. 4 or 5 hours in, most people are like, I'm done. Yeah. And all that. Because it's usually we don't start till like 7. And most of us old folks, we conk over at 8.
If the boss would show up early on Saturdays, then
I have to work.
Quit. What's more important to you, Joe?
Then you pay my post office salary.
Money. It always comes down to money with you.
I do have bills.
You do got
like to eat every once in a while. And then play schedule preferred. I'd love to play every week, and love to play every week at least 8 hours. But life doesn't let that happen. Not
I
really.
think I would like the opportunity to play that 8 hours. I would love to play every Saturday starting at noon and quit when we get tired. That's what I would like.
I have a second here. That means it's law.
Yep. Joe's way is the way.
Metrodemo says I prefer Joe's preferred.
Powder puff. Randy, buy me a new horse while you're at it. What the heck? I'm paying Joe's salary. Might as well just buy you a couple. Oh, I'll buy you a whole ranch.
Sounds good. You have the extra spare cash just laying around.
Sure. Just in my D&D books. I got them all hidden in there.
Under the floorboards.
Yeah.
All over the place.
All over the place. Just money. Randy's house is just full.
Oh, yes. And Bruce offered us seats at his every other Sunday night game.
Oh, I want to play that, Bruce. Ungilded, I told you I didn't think I could because, well, I got one game and it's just, that sounds like fun, though. We should do it.
And like I told him, I try to leave Sundays open for the with my wife. I like spending time with her.
Bottle of Patrick, bottle of ranch. Yes, that's what Powder Puff.
Yeah, that's about what you'd be able to give her a bottle of.
Little toy horse is about this big, but you get one of them.
Yeah.
Bruce, telling you, buddy, I'd love to. Man, that'd be fun. Read that schedule, Joe. Every other weekend, 7 p.m. to what is it? 7 p. to what's 0300? Is that?
No, there's no way I'd be able to do that.
3 a.m.
No way. No way.
Oh my God.
It'd get past midnight and I'd be asleep.
Oh, what's Darth saying? I'm having a hard time just getting people that would want to play every week, much less more than 4. Yeah, dude. Are those oh man. Dude, that sucks, Darth. I feel you, man. That sucks. I would like, my preferred schedule would be that our actual schedule that we do have is at best every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we play usually 7 p.m. to 11-ish. That's about the best we can do.
Unless the Saturday that we play is my weekend off. Then we can play much earlier.
Yeah.
And then we can get more play in.
So Bruce is serious. He plays starting Saturday to Sunday early. And wow, dude, yeah, I even if I wanted to, if I made it to, I'd make it to 11 or 12. No way I'd make it past midnight.
Plus, the way we would play would be online, and
Oh,
it would be online, and no, that wouldn't work out.
God, Bruce was inviting us to his house.
Oh, sure,
on Saturday.
Sure.
Skip on down to Texas, right?
What, we going to go helicopter there every day, every other Sunday?
If I'm buying
private jet
and paying for you to have a job, I guess I can pay for us helicopter trips every other Saturday. I want sweet live D&D. Anyway, yeah. So, so Darth is jonesing for 6 to 8. I think Joe's schedule weekly for 6 to 8 hours, or really it'd be Saturday play as long as you can. Maybe 40 hours a week. Yeah, dude.
40 hours a week. I don't know how that would work.
Why couldn't we all of us that's on this stream, why couldn't we all just be independently wealthy?
Well, this is what we could do.
We could all play every week with somebody in the group. We get a group together, these guys, and they would be fabulous.
So this is what we would do. We would have an actual play with a rotating cast of characters, and considering you and I, it would only need you and I.
Really?
But we would allow other people in just because we're nice guys like that. And then it would go gangbusters. We would get it would be bigger than any other actual play out there, only because we did it.
Right, actual play, I don't know, dude. Oh, look at Thurston Howe, Saturday night and onward till dawn. Whoa. Whew.
Trust fund gamers. Yeah, that's what we would have to be.
yeah, that's what I like to be. I was the longest game I can remember playing, and I think Joe was part of this. Remember, we went out to my Aunt Peg's on her farm, and we really didn't get started till 9 o'clock at night, and we played till noon the next day.
When we were young, we did stuff like that.
Yeah, we were young in high school. It's like, but we were like, and dude, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were like into it.
And I can't be on this computer yelling at I can't be in here yelling at my computer at 3 a.m. with my wife down the hallway trying to sleep. She'll kill me.
Truth is, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
And I could do it once. Yeah. Then I'd be done. There's no way.
And I'd have a good chance of doing it if it was face to face. So if Bruce comes up here to Michigan and DMs us every other week, that'd be great. He can come stay in my spare bedroom and run us. That'd be great. Okay. I guess that answers. So ideal session length and scheduled play. Yeah, that's kind of it. So ideally, unless people disagree, we're going to just say the ideal way to play is weekly for 8 hours.
Yes.
Minimum.
We have a quorum. It is now set in stone law. Bruce says, in 2014, I hosted a game. He hosted a game starting Saturday at noon. The storms rolled in San Antonio, and I told everybody they were allowed to stay here. I had plenty of room in my old townhouse apartment.
Yep.
Right. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah. Last topic for tonight.
Is it all that it's cracked up to be, wherein we revisit games, books, comics, movies, TV shows, all that geeky stuff from the past?
Yeah, this is going to be a new segment where we look back, and we're going to and I want to do this sporadically so that we've actually done it. Now, I would like for it to be us. What?
We played 18 hours that weekend.
How could they be salty? It was 18 hours of DMing. Get over themselves.
Right.
They should be happy.
They probably got a lot of experience. Gained a level at least that day.
Yeah, probably a couple levels that day.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this new segment is going to be periodic. Ideally, it would be one where me and Joe both have got to experience it. I'm going to give him after this podcast over, Joe's going to get an assignment because we're going to allow it to be not just games, but movies, geek movies and geek books, TV shows, mechanics even, that we get a chance to truly revisit of old. So maybe pull out an old Marvel superheroes and play Phase Rip and give our opinion on that. And so we'll talk a lot about that. And we're going to give it kind of a review of like it, love it, or leave it. We used to have a segment on that, and we're going to kind of modified this. And what I'm bringing up is something I have talked a little bit about, but Talisman Second Edition it wasn't last week. It was the week before. So about 2 weeks ago, I pulled out the board game, which I was really excited to take to CavinCon, which is in the future. And I played this with some friends, 4 others. Martinson was there and several others. One guy was a brand new guy, had never played it. No, 2 guys had never played it before. And someone, I think it was our buddy Greg, made the comment. We got to about the 2 to 2.5 hour mark. And we're, man, this is starting to drag. Somebody please win. And Talisman is kind of a Monopoly type board game, and that you just move around a board, you collect gear, your character does, you get enough treasure, you get the magical talisman, you go try to get to the center realm and defeat the bad guys there and rule the kingdom through the Crown of Command. And we had a couple guys were getting built up very heavy. I think Greg's was, and he got smacked down before he ever got to the center. Had a bad thing. My guy was getting decent, got turned into a frog. That was all fun. That was all fun. But around the 2.5 hour mark, I'm like, oh, it hit me finally. This is why I don't play it very much, because it can take forever. So you haven't played. I'm still bringing it to CavinCon, but I think you're going to see it, Joe. But I don't know. Joe was had a little more stamina than I did.
I like Talisman, and I might be able to last longer than 2 hours. But
we played 3. We played a little over.
Well, before the complaining starts.
Right.
So it probably depends on the environment, what's going on, how much time you've allotted. And if you're into 2 hours and it doesn't look like it's going to be ending anytime soon, and your allotted time for the game isn't much longer than that, I can see why you're like, oh, this has got to end soon. But I get that.
Martinson said he made it to the center. Just barely, though, right, dude? You didn't get very far because we were tired and said we had it. Yeah, Martinson and Greg both got the cheese ball characters. I don't know if you remember. There's 2: the prophetess.
Oh yeah,
right. They're minorly cheese. They have some really good powers, and nobody knows Martinson as well as we do. But he's a very defensive player. So he liked to hide around the edges and just collect things and build himself up. He wasn't much into encountering other characters, which is fine. I mean, it was a smart way to play. But truth of the matter is the dice rule all. And the good characters got a big benefit. They drew the mage who was giving free spells to good characters that landed there. And after playing this game again, the new guy, who's a big board game fan, Ben, you know Ben from Ben. He was like, yeah, this game is pretty swingy. It's like, yeah, you can go from, roses and cookies to, poop real quick.
Right. You get turned into a frog. Don't you lose all your stuff too?
You can't. I did. I completely lost. I gambled on purpose. I wanted to make it exciting, but yeah, it wasn't that exciting. I got frog bill.
There's a few effects that can cause you to lose all your stuff. Your character goes back to square one, and yeah.
But for about like 2 to 2.5 hours, Joe, it brought back a lot of the memories. I enjoyed my turn. I enjoyed watching everyone else have turns. I slowly got to see the old cards that I remembered and had forgotten about. So that was fun. I think if we'd have played more, I think Martinson would have won. He was the closest he'd get to the center. I think he was pretty much ready, though I was a little worried if he got in too much of a strength fight, he might get in trouble. But he had some sweet spells, so it probably would have been his victory. But I just wasn't. Look what Bruce said.
Oh.
I'm not playing Talisman more than an hour. We could have played Twilight Imperium for a turn instead.
A turn?
A turn for an hour? Oh.
No thanks.
Oh, Mr. Larry played too. He said it was fun. He was getting his butt kicked. Oh, great story. You should get a D6 to move. And I gave Ben, the new guy, a D6. Well, I thought I did. It was a D3. 1 to 3. He played for an hour with that. Anything bigger than a 3. And we finally looked. He goes, dude, are you screwed? I totally screwed him. Didn't mean to. I gave him a D3. So for half the game, he was just nothing. But poor Larry couldn't get a break.
It can be a lot of fun. But like a lot of the more involved board games, it can take a while to resolve. And if you're not ready for that, well, then you may not have a good time at the end of a couple hours. You're like, we're not anywhere near done.
After an hour or so, people have got to get focused on getting their turn through. Patrick makes a good comment at 9:14. If you can click on Patrick's demos, He says, or you could be Jeff. In the first turn, meet the devil and lose a life. Second turn, meet a dragon and lose a life. Then the next 3 turns as a frog before getting killed. Yeah, that's part of the game. You have to accept the randomness of it. Your skill is not going to win the day in Talisman. There's only so much skill. You play to your strength, and like I said, Martinson made a good strategy, moving around, trying to gather stuff without combating people too much. I was playing an evil character. You can have certain characters that can start out evil. Me and Mr. Larry both were evil. So
did you randomly draw? Yes,
we did a random draw. If I had to do it again, I would take the Sprite and then Prophetess out, but not exactly. Those that like strategy games may not like Talisman because it's really not that.
Well, you can have a strategy, but the dice can just ruin your strategy. You can have, I'm doing good, frog.
Well, or like Patrick said, you could roll a dragon the very first encounter, and you're going to die. So, yeah. And I had all the second edition expansions, though we didn't use the dungeon. I didn't have the city. I had the city from third edition, which still works, and I had the dungeon expansion, but we did not use either. But I did use the extra cards and characters. So Patrick says, play Prophecy. It's Talisman with more control. Huh, okay.
Prophecy is made by whom and can be bought where?
Yes.
I have Talisman. I have a one. I don't think I have any expansions, but I do have Talisman on my shelf back there.
We have the second edition with the black and gold box.
Black and gold.
Yes. To me, that's the best. But that's because it's, tickles the old remember wins.
Yes, Thurston Howell. Dice don't care about your strategy.
They do not, and not in Talisman. But to me, I'm a big fan of random games. So if I were going to rate it, even after playing it recently, I like it. I'm still bringing it to Cabin Con. We're still going to play it. Still going to get my buddy Eric into a game starting at midnight, playing till 5 in, including Joe. So it'll be fun.
Z-Man Games. Prophecy.
Oh, really?
That rings a bell, but I don't know anything from it.
Is that connected to Rune War or the whole Descent genre of games, Patrick? Is that what you're talking about? Was it the Talisman version of Rune War or Descent or something? That's a different sort of game, but yeah, I would say I like it.
I like Talisman, but it's you got to be ready for the long haul.
Yeah. No, Patrick says no. It's not a Rune War clone. All right. So we're going to try to do this periodically. Like I said, I want to give Joe not an assignment. I'm going to ask him if he'd be willing to watch I've watched a couple of movies, 80s movies, and I'm going to bounce off him if he'd want to watch one, and then let's give his opinion after we watch it again. One that we watched way back in the day. So
I might already have an opinion about it.
You might. So we'll talk about it after, but
offline.
We shall not divulge the secrets yet. So anything else, brother? I feel like we're inching toward that end here.
I think we are.
Yeah.
I can say, let's see, is there anything interesting else that we want to look at in the chat? If anybody has a question or a comment, now's your time to lay it down.
Oh, Shadow and Sun. Shadow of Brimstone is like that too. 45 minutes to set up, 3 hours to play. Gosh, that setup time annoys me. Man, I hate games that take 45 minutes, an hour to set up. It's just so, I guess because I'm just not a board gamer. I like them when they're quick. I like certain types of board games. Quick play. I like quick play ones.
I don't hate them all. I just hate the ones that everybody talks about the most. Like Sword and the Sorcerer was not a good movie.
Well, one of the movies T-shirt, I know for sure he will be willing to watch or have an opinion on. So I know that for sure.
Most of the swords and sorcery films from the 80s were not good.
But Joe will be watching some of them. So he might get ready.
Some of them are fun to watch, but most of them are not good.
Oh.
But that's, all that is subjective stuff. So.
Yeah. True. Oh, there's Cal. Was he lurking?
Hey. He probably was lurking. He was probably lurking. You lurker. Uh-oh. It's all caps. All caps. You take that back. Sword and Sorcerer was gold. No.
Yeah.
I mean, who was the star? Who was the star?
The blonde dude.
Sword and the Sorcerer? No, he was not blonde.
Wasn't the blonde dude?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, King of Tokyo. That's my new favorite game. That's fun.
Oh, Legion of Myth. I agree with Joe for once.
Don't get used to it, Joe. Max usually agrees with me.
Yes, Lee Horsley.
Good old Lee.
Has he done anything since then? And that TV show he was a private detective in with that convertible thing from back in the day. Nobody knows who Lee Horsley is these days because he was not a good actor. He was horrible.
Oh, come on, Joe. He was the prince of sword and sorcery.
I know.
Even I don't remember him. Bruce posted something for us in Gildan. All right.
Testy t-shirt. I rankled. I rankled t-shirt.
No, that's his area of expertise. He's got the D&D skills, but he knows about movies now.
Oh, we know somebody else who would really disagree with me too.
Who's that?
Jason.
At Nerds?
Yeah.
RPG.
Yeah.
Jason, he's a movie buff. I don't know if T-shirt listens to Nerds RPG Variety Cast. That would be you might want to check that out. Jason.
He's a big movie buff. He likes all kinds of movies. He gives lots of allowance for the crappy movies of the 80s. But yeah, Lee Horsley, according to Thurston Howell IV, the poor man's Tom Selleck. Yes.
Oh, Tom Selleck's awesome. Oh, Hawk the Slayer viewing in Discord? I'd be down for that.
I'd only make 5 minutes.
Joe, you will take a notebook and we will discuss it and its literary skill, its literary significance in great detail.
Okay, Krull.
Okay.
While it wasn't the best movie ever, it had some good actors in it, as opposed to all these other movies that have been mentioned.
You liked Conan. Tell me you liked Arnold.
Conan. It had some great scenes, some good acting. I mean, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but other people had some good lines and good. I mean, Schwarzenegger had good lines.
He had some.
He wasn't a good actor at that point.
No, he had not come into his own.
Beastmaster was fun, but not good.
There was a Beastmaster 2?
Of course there was.
Oh my! But that was some straight up cheese.
I think there was wasn't there a Sword and Sorcerer 2 that went straight to video kind of thing?
Yeah.
Lady Hawk. Lady Hawk was good. Had good actors in it.
The music was the best, right, Patrick?
Oh,
Lady Hawk was awesome.
Yeah. They could I think you could redo the synth music from Lady Hawk with something better.
Oh, leave it.
No. And that movie would jump up one status level easily.
Yeah. Of course, and I think a lot of it is, I think we're spoiled because we have the greatest fantasy film ever.
Yeah, but I didn't really care for them back in the day even.
Careful.
I've watched several of them several times to try to like them, and it just didn't work.
You're so demanding, Joe.
Yeah, well. My taste isn't everybody else's. It's
okay. Friends with this dude for 40 years. I believe this guy.
I'm not sure who this is directed at, Patrick. You take that back, you SOB. All caps.
Summon a beach and ice hole. What's that from? That's from that Keaton movie. Where's the gangster? They had that
Johnny Dangerously.
Fargan ice hole.
Johnny Dangerously.
Johnny, that's a great movie. Yeah. Oh, we should watch that one again.
Cal, nobody said I had taste.
He can taste things.
I can taste things, but.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay. I think it's a good time to call it, huh? Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Really thanks, guys. It's been really fun.
There was a free. No, that's gotta be a lie. That's gotta be a lie. Word. I think Bruce is yanking my chain. He shall not. I thought so. No.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, if you'd like to support our show, please visit the many places you can find us online where we exist. Our website, www.biggestgeekuspodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Twitter, Facebook, all the socials that you can think of, and some that you haven't.
Yep. Ungilded. I've used that once or twice.
Yeah, I'm gonna. We'll have a link to our Gilded server. We are also on Discord. All of that will be provided in the description. Also, our link to uh, our Streamlabs tip account, if you would like to give us a tip, and don't take wooden nickels because we don't like that. We're on, of course, on YouTube. That's where we're at right now. And our email, if you have any suggestions, questions, parting shots, criticisms, anything else, you can send us an email at thegeeks@biggestgeekispodcast.com.
Criticisms to this guy, praises.
Yes, you put my name in all caps in the subject, and I will read it post haste.
Say Randy is awesome, and that'll be great.
Yeah. Most importantly, you can please share this with your friends if you haven't already, and let them know that you like us, because you're here talking to us, so you must like us a little bit.
A little bit. Don't assume too much.
And there's a few people that showed up tonight that I'm not sure that I saw before, like Thurston Howell.
Thanks for joining us.
And a couple other ones. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
And please subscribe, like, share, and rate us at all the places that you find us.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Nada.
Nada for me either. This is Joe.
And I'm Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.